This video will show you how to automate Google Cloud Storage with Python, specifically how to list buckets, how to list files within a bucket, and how to download and upload files. And we'll also explore the documentation where you can find all the operations you can do with Cloud Storage API. Let's get started. Step 1. Enable Cloud Storage API. Go to Google Cloud Console, choose your project here or create a new one. Go to APIs and Services, Library. In the search bar, type Cloud Storage and click on Cloud Storage API. If you haven't used Cloud Storage API before in your project, you should see a button that says Enable. I don't have it here because I have already enabled the API. Step 2. Create a new Python project and set up a virtual environment. For this, I am using VS Code. I have already opened a new folder. Now let's set up the virtual environment. If you are on Windows, you can create a virtual environment using the command python-m vnv followed by the name of your environment. Then activate the virtual environment using the command environment name /scripts/activate. If you are on Mac, use these commands instead. Step 3. Install Google Cloud Storage Library. To install the Google Cloud Storage Library, we can use the command pip install Google Cloud Storage. Now let's create a new Python file and import the storage module. Alright, in order to start using our API, we need to create a storage client instance. Then we need to authenticate our client. Step 4. Set up authentication. For this, we have two options. Either to create a service account and give it the necessary permissions to use Cloud Storage API, then authenticate your client using the service account credentials, or you can use the permissions related to your user account. For this tutorial, I will use my user account. In order to authenticate the application using your user account, you can run the command gcloud-auth application default login. Once you run this command, it will open up your browser and ask you to allow authentication. And once you're done, you will see this page that says you are now authenticated with the gcloud CLI. This step retrieves your user credentials and saves them in this application default credentials file, and when you create a storage client, it uses those credentials for authentication. It also sets the project to the one you are using currently on the Google Cloud Console. But if you are not sure if it's the right project, you can use the command gcloud sets project followed by your project ID. Now we are ready to start using the API. The first operation we can do is listing all the cloud storage buckets we have in our project. For this, we can get the buckets using the method listBuckets. So we can do client.listBuckets. Then we can print the names using bucket.name. Now let's run and see. It seems we have an error that says module not found, no module named google.cloud, which means it's unable to find the module. That's because, as we can see here on the bottom right, it is using Conda as interpreter. We can click on it and select another interpreter, and we will select our virtual environment instead. Now let's run again and see. And here we go, now we have our bucket names. The next operation we can do is listing all the files in a bucket. For this, we first need to get our bucket using client.bucket, and we specify the bucket name. Files within a bucket are referred to as blobs, and we can get them using the method listBlobs. And we can get the names using blob.name. Now let's run and see. And here we have our files, file1.txt and sampletextfile.txt. Now we can go and verify on the Google Cloud Console. On the navigation menu, go to Cloud Storage. Here we can see the buckets that we listed earlier. And if we click on signed URL bucket 43, which is the one we accessed with our code, we can see our two files. Now let's go back to our code. The next operation we can do is downloading a blob to a local file. For example, we can download file1.txt. To do that, first we need to create a blob object with the name file1.txt. Then we can use the method download to file name and we specify the name of our local file. Now let's run and see. And here our file has been downloaded under the name example.txt. Next, we can also upload a new file to our storage bucket. For example, we can edit this file we have here, example.txt, and try to upload it again to our bucket. We'll call it newblob.txt. So that's the name we should find in our bucket. Then we can create a new blob under this name and we can use the method upload from file name. Now let's run this, then go check on the Google Cloud Console. Let's refresh the page and here we have our new blob. If we click on it, then click download, we can see the content of the blob. Now those are just a few operations that you can do with Cloud Storage API. For the full documentation, you can go to this website. I will leave the link in the description. Here under Google Cloud Storage, go to Storage and you will find all the storage elements, including the blob and bucket class that we saw in the demo. For example, if we go to blob, we can find the full documentation of the class, including the parameters, the properties, as well as the methods. For example, the method delete, if we want to delete a blob. There is the method download as bytes, download as string, download to file name that we used earlier. The method exists to determine whether or not the blob exists, etc. So this is the best place to find all the use cases of the API.